Did you know that some companies still support cruel and deadly test and sensitive intelligent animals? Many people are surprised to learn that lots of the big name products on our supermarket shelves and in our department store cosmetic counters have been tested on animals. This presentation will be about the ethics of animal testing and will be outlined as followed. First, I will be talking about some overall facts about animal testing, what it is and which companies and industry we will focus on. Then Aiden will present and talk about makeup companies that do animal testing, which will lead into Francisco, who will talk about makeup companies that don't do animal testing. Brenda will be talking about the ethical aspects. At last, Lily will come up with some solutions to and alternatives to animal testing. To start off, I will list 3 facts about animal testing. First, did you know that over 100 million animals are burned, crippled, poisoned, and abused in US labs every year? Number 2, 92% of experimental drugs that are safe and effective in animals fail in human clinical trials because they are too dangerous or don't work. 3, several cosmetics tests commonly performed on mice, rats, rabbits, and pigs include skin and eye irritation tests where chemicals are rubbed and shaved skin or dripped into the eye without any pain relief. An animal test is any scientific experiment or test in which a live animal is forced to undergo something that is likely to cause them pain, suffering, distress, or lasting harm. The animals used in these kinds of testing is not for their own good and are usually killed after the experiment. You see animal testing in both makeup and medicine, but we have chosen to focus on animal testing in makeup. Some of the makeup companies that do animal testing is big companies as Clinique and Maybelline, Sephora, Estee Lauder, Unilever, Origins, and Elizabeth Arden. We might not think that many of these companies did animal testing, but they all have poor ethics when it comes to animal testing and are making no effort to change their policies, which we will talk about later in this presentation, where we have chosen to talk about Clinique and Maybelline. Some of the non-animal testing companies is the following: Kat Von D, Lush, L'Oreal, The Body Shop, Trader, Joe's, and ELF. These companies do support tests on sensitive and intelligent animals. Now I will give the word to Aiden, who will talk about the companies that do animal testing on their products.
Animal testing has been used for centuries to discover whether or not certain diseases or reactions will form from either medical treatments or cosmetic makeup. Some countries, including the Chinese government, require that animal tests be done on all cosmetic products that are imported to make sure that they are safe. Just recently, the European Union and India have banned the sale of any cosmetics or cosmetic ingredients that have been tested on animals, forcing companies to stop testing on animals if they want to sell to these huge markets. According to the National Research Council, the United States does not have any ban on testing cosmetics or household products on animals. Just recently did the Federal Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act prohibit the mislabel of products where they claim cruelty-free even if they tested on animals. The Humane Society describes certain ways tests are done. Common cosmetic tests include skin and eye irritation tests, where chemicals are rubbed onto the shaved skin or dripped into the eyes of the animals. Repeated forced feeding of drugs used for skin treatments or health products that can last up to months so companies can look for signs of sickness or birth defects. And lastly, the lethal dose test. Medicines and makeup have warning labels printed on it so you know what level you cannot exceed and what side effects may come about it. They find this out by forcing large amounts of specific beauty products into the tested animal to determine what dosage causes harm. The National Research Council mentions instances where makeup was not tested. In 1933, a mascara called Lash Lure infected women, blinding more than a dozen and killing one. Now, the FDA requires that all manufacturers prove the safety of their products. The Food, Drug, and Cosmetic Act of 1938 enforced that a drug company must prove to the FDA that a drug is safe before it can be sold to the public. Although animal testing has been reduced, it is still being used for products like sunscreen, shampoos, toothpaste, and acne creams that contain ingredients that cause a chemical change in the body. Sephora, a well-renowned makeup store, carries hundreds of makeup labels, including many that test on animals. Makeup brands like Maybelline and Clinique are just some of the major companies that still test on animals. Maybelline is owned by a parent company, L'Oreal, and according to L'Oreal's website, they no longer test its ingredients on animals and no longer tolerate exceptions to this rule. They also state that certain health authorities may decide to conduct animal tests themselves for certain cosmetic products. However, L'Oreal pays for animal testing to be done in order to sell their products in China. Similar to Maybelline, Clinique, who also sells products in Sephora, has their animal testing policy on their website. It states that they do not test on animals except when required by law. Sephora stores are located all across the world, including China. This being said, many companies are still using animal testing to research their new products rather than using alternatives focusing on their image rather than focusing on the ethical treatment of animals. It's important to know who you are buying from and what their policies are regarding animal testing, even if they say cruelty-free.
When animal testing is conducted, the human is highly considered, but the animal is but a mere object. The animals are degraded and most of the time, if not all, mistreated. People may believe that animal testing may be the only way, the most effective way, or maybe even both to gain lasting and accurate results. This is not true. As stated in the article, New Models in Cosmetics Replacing Animal Testing, reliance on animal testing, according to several experts, has actually hindered the evaluation of many chemicals and ingredients inside and outside the cosmetic industry. The safety evaluation ultimately replacing animal testing, or SEURAT, has come up with a new model that is developing lab technologies and computational models which predict the toxicity of these chemicals on humans. These results will be far more accurate than testing on animals. Although these new technologies are not a fast way to obtain results, it will provide more accurate results and spare the lives of millions of animals. Another model is that of the no-tox plan, which analyzes and chooses key events in the laboratory, and then uses this data to support virtual tests. As of now, many companies are beginning and becoming cruelty-free and beginning to adopt new methods that do not involve animals at all. One of these companies is Lush. From its very humble beginning, Lush has never animal tested. In fact, one of their strongest values, as they are a 100% vegan brand, is to not animal test. They believe that animals are just as equal as humans. To further prove their dedication to fighting animal testing, they only purchase ingredients from companies that quote-unquote do not commission tests on animals. Their products range from bath, face, and cosmetics. But although these products are commonly tested on animals, Lush tests their products on human volunteers. According to an article on Lush.com, Lush is trying to convince their peers in the cosmetic industry to adopt their values on animal testing since it is no longer a legal requirement. More than 20,000 ingredients have been listed as safe for humans, and many of other methods are becoming superior in terms of results and cost. Another notable company that does not animal test is Kat Von D. Kat Von D is a notable tattoo artist who has her own makeup line. All of her products are free of any ingredient that are derived from animals, and all her products are not tested on animals. She adds the claim, Kat Von D Beauty never tests on animals and never will. So these companies have proved to be extremely successful, not just because of their amazing products or customer service, but because of their ethics and the way they conduct business. They set a new business model that shows that products of high quality can be produced while still being ethical. Animals do not need to be harmed, tested on, or even be considered while testing products, because it's completely immoral. Animals are living just like humans and deserve to live a happy and peaceful life. With more and more alternatives coming to the cosmetic industry each and every year, it gives you more of a reason to fight animal testing for the sake of yourself and the beautiful animals all around you every day. There is now no excuse to resume this atrocious act, so think before you buy.
My name is Brenda Diaz. And my part of the presentation is actually to describe the ethics behind animal testing. In addition, I will be talking about some of the consequences that companies face by implementing animal testing for the safety of their products. I want to acknowledge that my team actually worked with the cosmetics industry, as some of my previous teammates have mentioned earlier in the presentation. In addition, we did incorporate some of the medicine aspects in order to have a well-rounded idea of what is behind the ethics of animal experimentation for products. To begin with, I want to establish 3 groups: those who are against animal testing, those who are for animal testing, and those who are in the middle ground. Those who are against animal testing are those who stand the idea of moral standing, including humans and animals. Moral standing is the capacity to feel suffering and the capacity to feel enjoyment of life. As we all know, animals do feel both. Now, the second group is those who are for animal testing. Those who are for animal testing stand behind the idea of moral community. Moral community includes the capacity of cognitive capabilities and the possession of full autonomy. Now, it does not include animals. However, it does include infants and mentally handicapped, which should not be included to have those capabilities. However, we would never hear of an infant or a mentally handicapped being tested for cosmetics products. Now, those who are on the middle ground are advocates that there are benefits to animal testing, especially in the medicine industry. There have been breakthroughs that have helped humans in many ways. To think of how ethical it is to do animal testing for cosmetics, it is not okay. It is not ethical to work on animals in order to enhance the appearance of our beauty. I'm going to switch over into the consequences that companies face for implementing animal testing. One of the companies that I read about, HLS, Huntington's Life Sciences, actually talks about how their employment staff had to deal with animal rights activists that would try and hurt them for testing on animals. These scientists had to deal with bombings located in their houses, cars, and being scared of their lives. In addition, the business couldn't even try to liquidate the company because the major banks would not business standing. In addition, trying to make business with other countries when they do not accept animal testing is rigorous. The European Union, Israel, and India is no longer accepting animals testing products of any kind. So if a business in the United States wants to work with them, they would have to leave all of their sources of animal testing behind in order to implement more of the alternatives that there are. There are many alternatives out there for animal testing, and all we need to do is try to look for them.
While it is believed by some that animal testing is necessary, there are other alternatives and methods that don't require the torture or killing of animals. One alternative, which was created by a company called CTOX, is to test on human skin models that are made from actual human cells, sparing animals like mice, rats, rabbits, and others from possible allergic reactions and painful skin irritation. These human skin models replicate actual human skin, which replaces the need to test on animals. Another alternative is testing on human volunteers. There are volunteers that are willing to be tested on, and many companies have used this method successfully. A small, harmless amount of product can be tested on a small patch of actual human skin to test the behavior of the product. It is best to use these alternatives rather than to test on animals, as they are far more accurate. Humans and animals are obviously very different, which means that what may or may not irritate their skin might not have the same effects on human skin. Because humans and animals are so different, more than one animal is used in a single test to get more accurate results, which ends in more animals having chemicals dripped into their eyes, forcing animals to eat toxic beauty ingredients, and shaving off patches of their fur to burn their skin with harmful chemicals. In an article written by Cruelty Free International, the author discusses that skin irritation tests on rabbits are 60% accurate, while the same tests on synthetic human skin are 86% accurate. Therefore, if more companies begin using alternatives such as CTOX, human skin models, or actual human volunteers, results are more likely to be exact and no lives will be lost in the process. Since so many animals are required to test a single product, animal testing is very expensive. Replicated human skin models are less expensive and are proved to be most effective, eliminating the need to further animal testing. Torturing and killing animals for animal testing is considered unethical by many people, but most never do anything about it. Now that other inexpensive and accurate science-based alternatives exist, there should be no reason to test on animals. And for those that don't support animal testing, there are cruelty-free cosmetic companies such as Lush, Bare Minerals, Tarte, Wet n Wild, and more that make great products and don't perform or tolerate any animal testing. Another option is to stop buying and using products from companies that test on animals, such as Maybelline, Benefit, Clinique, Revlon, and others, and to instead replace commonly used products with cruelty-free ones. Using products from cruelty-free brands will guarantee that animals are not involved in their cosmetic testing process.